Hi, this is Sally Morgan, physical therapist, craniosacral therapist, and Tellington T-Touch practitioner for animals and people. This is Tristan. He's a Corgi. He's wearing his Corgi splattered bow tie today, and I'm wearing my Corgi shirt because we are going to the Ashfield Corgi picnic later today. Sorry for getting started so late, but Facebook Pages seems to have lost the live video thing to click on, and it's a very complicated process to fix it, and there was a lot of problems. I've been screwing around with this for 45 minutes, and let me tell you, the Corgi's shaking because he knows mommy's blood pressure is over 200 at the moment. But I want to talk about something so great, which is Corgi Cookies. These are so cute. And let's get one of the splooters. The splooting Corgi puppy. These two came from Etsy. And then I have my traditional silhouette Corgi cookie cutter that makes just plain old Corgis, which I like because you can make them longer and skinnier and fatter. So I have been making Corgi shaped cookies since the mid 80s when my ex-husband, now at the time was my husband, and I were driving around Berkshire County, and we passed a place called the Corgi Shop. And the Corgi Shop, I had passed it for a long time, coming and going, because there was a tack store up there where I was buying a lot of stuff. I ultimately bought a horse from the people at that tack store. But one day when we were driving up there, Jack says, "What's that store?" And I said, "It must sell sweaters." And he said, "Well, we like sweaters. Let's go in." And we took our dog Winnie with us, and this was probably in 1982 or 3, maybe 4. And we went banging on the door, and 2 enormous growly Corgis greeted us. And the guy said he had to move his dogs because they weren't nice, and he let us come in with Winnie. And it was a Corgi shop, and we shop, and bought everything that we could carry out of there. Luckily, Jack was financially liquid so that we could buy a lot of Corgi things. Some of my most beloved Corgi things, like a Tasha Tudor illustrated tiny little book of, is it the Lord's Prayer or the 23rd Psalm? Something like that. It's a tiny little book. It's so sweet. Her drawings are so tiny. And Corgi soaps from Crabtree and Evelyn that have illustrations by Tasha Tudor on the box, and some wonderful Corgi books. We got The Portrait of Glindy, which is written by someone about this Corgi's life, and The Queening of Cerridon was another one by the same person. These are great books. I mean, I just want to cry when I think about how lucky we were to be in that store and get all this stuff. And plenty of people that go to Corgi shows know about the Corgi shop. And they're grumpy dogs and somewhat grumpy people because they went to all the big events and sold Corgi stuff. For years, they were the only shop in town. So when Jack and I were in there, among the wonderful things we bought were this giant Corgi cutout and what was then considered a smaller cookie. Say the size difference, mommies and babies. And I have literally only used this one to cut out shortbread. And, you know, this is like a 2-person serving of shortbread. This little fella has had a lot of use, and he's held up very well over the years. He's a really nice cookie cutter, as is this guy. And then a couple of years ago, we went to the Corgi picnic up here in Ashfield, and, oh, he's got a spider on him. And we found this wonderful copper Corgi cookie cutter that a guy from Vermont makes, and his wife had made delicious cookies cut out with this. And this is also kind of big. You can see he's the same size as prior giant Corgi cookie cutter. He's got a good stamper handle on him though, and the guy still makes them. So the interesting thing about this one is that the guy actually managed to send one to the Queen of England, and in fact it is in the Buckingham Palace bakery to this day. I think he got kind of a form letter back. You know how you get something from the president that's just signed or stamped? I think he got something like that back. So, and that's one of my treasured things. Tasha Tudor's got one. You know, they're pretty popular. And then on Etsy, thanks to Corgi Spotting and Corgi Finding, I got these 2 guys, which are a sitting up Corgi and a splooting Corgi, and I believe they make another one. But at the time, I just wanted these 2. They're like 15 bucks. They're a little expensive. They're plastic, which never thrills me. But boy, do they make some cute cookies. like I showed you, we have this little sitting Corgi, and you have to cut them a little thicker to use this. And you know, how can you beat the cuteness of the splooting Corgi? He's sleeping. His face looks a little not so good on this, but you got one eye closed and then a stripe up the nose. That's what's going on there. And these little arms here in the front, I have to tell you, when you're cookie cutting them, they fall off. So you'll be remodeling quite a few arms. So let me give you the Corgi cookie recipe that I've been using. I found it on the internet years ago, and I don't even know whose recipe it is, so forgive me, person, whoever you are. However, I have changed it a tad, and I think it makes it tastier, and so therefore maybe it's my own recipe. So you have a cup of unsalted butter. I use salted butter, and I use 2 sticks, which is a cup. 1 1/3 cups of granulated sugar. I use organic, untreated sugar, so it's not white, it's slightly beige. 1 egg, sometimes I use 2. 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Let's face it, I dump in a lot of vanilla, and I have homemade vanilla where you soak a bean in vodka that my sister's husband, Hugh, gave me for Christmas, and that vanilla is so good, and it really makes these cookies better. I also add a tisp of almond, and I've tried some other extracts over the years. What else have I used? I'm thinking I've used anise at Christmas time. And I've also added cinnamon to make them taste like snickerdoodles, cinnamon essential oil. So anyway, I almost always use vanilla and almond, or just plain vanilla. And then you have 2 3/4 cups of flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and a tisp of salt. Sometimes I put in a little more because we've got that salted caramel thing going on now in the world, and a little salt can be good. And I don't use finely grated salt. I use kosher salt. And so what you do is cream the butter and sugar, just like always, until light and fluffy. Then you add the egg. Like I said, sometimes it's 2 eggs for me, and the vanilla and the almond. And then you gradually mix in the flour. I use a stand mixer for this. And then mix it all up, not too much. And then the best part about this is that you don't have to chill it. It's hard enough to have to roll cookies. So it says to divide the dough into 2 balls. Sometimes I use 3 just to keep it good, because I'm going to have to keep re-rolling it. And then I roll it out and then stamp it. So I use a regular rolling pin. In the past, I have used a wine bottle with the label taken off. That was my rolling pin for years. Then I moved into my old house, and there were 2 rolling pins there when I moved in. So now I have 2 rolling pins. Anyway, roll it out to about 1/8 of an inch thick. And of course, flour everything, including your cookie cutters. They usually take a couple of dives into the flour pile. And I don't, you know, I have a lot of different cutting board things, and I don't have a piece of marble to roll out baked goods, which I really should, because I make a lot of Corgi cookies. But I just use my countertop, which is some kind of granite fake marble looking, well, it's not marble, granite fake, just laminate stuff. And it's kind of bad because it's bumpy and the Corgis stick to it. So I have to use a lot of flour. Anyway, and then you just roll it, and then you bake them on an ungreased pan for 6 to 7 minutes. And so here's the thing. If you go even 1 minute longer, because the piggies on the Corgis are usually thin, you end up with these guys with the little tan ends. So I tend to err on the light side and get one that looks more like this. They are much tastier that way, unless you like super crisp cookies. And before they go in the oven, as you can see on this guy, I sprinkle them with some turbinado sugar, which is raw organic sugar that's chunkier. And it just a little bit, A, to make them more Corgi colored, and B, because it makes them taste good. And so they go in the oven at 400, not 350, 400, which seems so high, but they cook like that. I mean, literally 6 minutes, and those guys got to come out. I immediately scoop them off the pan and let them cool. And that's when my countertop is perfect, because I just put them right on the countertop, not on wire racks. And I have looked all over my town in Iowa, and I can't find a rolling pin. That's crazy. In Iowa? Oh, no, it's not in Iowa. And can't find a rolling pin. I guess I'll have... Yeah, you can get one online, or use a wine bottle. They are really good. And for these Corgi cookies, you're not like grinding it in there. So a wine bottle might be just fine. and you might even have some better luck getting smoother cookies. I don't know. So anyway, they go in the oven for 6 minutes at 400, cool them, and let them dry so that they're a little crisp and have some body to them. As you're transferring them from the baking sheet to the kitchen countertop, if you lose a foot or an ear or a head, you can still, while they're hot from the oven, smush them together and smash it down, and it will dry with its part back on it. So that's important to know, because if you have kids helping you, they may try to pick up the cookies and bend them and you'll lose like parts. So you can smash them back together, but you have a very small, like 40-second window to do that, FYI. Let them cool, stack them up, put them in some kind of a cookie tin like I have here. All these corgis ready to go to the corgi picnic, yum! And they last a pretty long time in the refrigerator. Remember, these cookies are made out of butter, mostly 2 sticks of butter. They're somewhere between shortbread and a sugar cookie, but I love them. I have tried a couple other recipes. First of all, they don't roll as well. Second of all, they don't taste as good. And for that butter, I just put it out in the morning at like 9, and I end up making the cookies around 10 usually. So it's not super soft butter. It's somewhat soft. It's definitely whippable. So I would be careful about using like super liquid butter, because you may have trouble rolling them too, because you want that butter to be a little bit cold, because you're not refrigerating these guys. And lots of people probably have a really good recipe where they refrigerate them, but I never have time to do that. And they're so cute, I want to make them, especially now that I have these plastic molds with these little splooters and these cute sitting up smiling corgis. I might make a whole batch of the smiling corgis, but I have to say the combination of these 3 fit really well on a cookie sheet. Like, I got a whole ton of cookies on a big cookie sheet, and usually with this, just the sideways corgis, it's a bit of a jam to get the kids in there. And they are delicious. So try making some corgi cookies. I also have fire hydrants and dog bones and things like that that I could make as well. But, you know, who doesn't love a corgi-shaped cookie? I sure do. And they're too cute to eat sometimes. I still have in my freezer a beautifully decorated, just a round cookie with a corgi's face on it that Ray Lynn brought from Eastern Mass to one of the Mayflower meetups. And that cookie was so cute, I just can't eat it. So it's living in my freezer in a plastic bag, smiling at me when I open it. So these guys, because I can make more, it's okay to eat them. They look good. Yes, they are. And they are cute. And, you know, you could put other color sprinkles on them. If you have black corgis, of course, you can buy black sprinkles now at most specialty baking stores, and you could make little tricolor corgis with a little saddle on them. And if you want to be adventurous, you can get some kinds of little like edible beads for their eyeballs and things. But I err on the side of keeping them plain, because I do want people to eat them as opposed to just saying they're so cute. And they are delicious, and I probably should make them occasionally just for myself. And I was thinking this year, I didn't join the Corgi Santa exchange yet, but maybe I should, because then I could send cookies around America. And they're fun to make. I never feel exhausted and frazzled after making them, and Tristan usually hangs out in the kitchen. If I'm cooking something, like when I make his turkey that's sizzling a lot in the pan, he leaves the room. He's scared something's going to happen. Just like this morning when I couldn't get Facebook Live to work, and I'm still not sure what's going on with it. I posted a Facebook Live from a concert last night with Jill Solbuel, who asked us to Facebook Live it and then send it to her. So, you know, it's not like I was doing something illegal here. And at this particular venue, it's very small, and it is owned by a recording studio. So they want us to post information about them and about their artists. So it wasn't like a bad thing. I don't know what happened. Maybe Facebook just changed, because they do that all the time. That's what keeps my brain young. So good luck with the Corgi cookies. I'll run over the recipe quick again. 1 cup unsalted butter, 1 1/3 cup granulated sugar, preheat to 400. 1 egg, 2 teaspoons vanilla. I add another teaspoon of almond, and actually I use 2 tablespoons of vanilla pretty much. 2 3/4 flour, 2 teaspoons baking powder, 1 teaspoon salt. Oh, I've also made them with ginger in them. Oh my God. Chopped up granulated like ginger candy. These cookies are delicious, but they're lumpy corgis. Cream the butter and sugar until light and fluffy. Beat in the eggs and vanilla. Mix the flour, baking powder, salt in another bowl. Add to the creamed mixture 1 cup at a time. Don't chill it. Divide it into balls. Roll it out 1/8 inch thick. Flatten it with whatever you have. Honestly, you could probably smash this one out with just your fist, but roll it if you have a rolling pin or a wine bottle, and bake on an ungreased cookie sheet for 6 to 7 minutes. And I tend to make them a little light because as they get crisp when you take them off the cookie sheet right away. That's important, or you get little burned back end corgis. So everybody have fun making Corgi cookies. I'll try to post some pictures from the Corgi picnic. There's usually sketchy internet up there. I think I did a live there last year and it didn't work out so well. And if this guy is there that made these beautiful copper Corgi cutters, I'll see if he can make them and sell them. I think it was like $25 to get this. It says ETVT for Vermont. 2014, number 350. Handmade copper corgis. Everybody have a great day and make some Corgi cookies.